Awesome. Hello, Susie. Welcome to today's live where we're going to be chatting to self-advocacy expert, psychologist, and author, Susie. Is it Reading or Reading?
Reading.
Reading. You can find her on Instagram as well. So I'll share that with you all. Really worth a follow. She shares some amazing stuff over there. But before we dive in, let's get you introduced. You can introduce yourself, tell us all about you and what you do.
Sure. Oh, well, thank you for such a lovely, warm welcome, Charlotte. So, I'm Suzy Reading. I am a chartered psychologist. I'm an author. I've written 10 books, all about self-care, how we can nourish ourselves. But in addition to that, I also spent about a decade of my previous professional life working as a personal trainer. And I'm also a yoga teacher. So I really love drawing all of these different modalities together to empower people with nourishing skills and habits. But Charlotte, I want to preface this entire conversation with just an understanding that, like, qualifications aside, it was really my own life experience of becoming a mum at the same time as losing my father to motor neurone disease that really showed me just how vital it was that I was tender with myself, that I gave myself permission to take care of myself. And what I'm only just learning now, um, I thought that lesson was all around self care. And that was definitely what I have gleaned from it. But I'm just beginning to understand that that life experience wasn't just about self care, it was teaching me about self advocacy, which is the skill that we need to not only take care of ourselves, but for other people to be able to meet our needs so that we can also receive. So that's where I'm coming from today. And I hope that
Yeah, and that's
strikes a chord.
amazing. And I think you've got so much to share. So I'm going to start with the most obvious
Mhm.
question that probably people are sat thinking, what is self-advocacy and
Yeah.
what is the difference between self-advocacy and self-care? Because self-care is a buzzword. It is something that people always talk about. Oh, you've got to, take care of yourself and fill your own cup. And I know this is so much more than that. So can you share with us what it is?
I'm really glad you asked because we've all heard of self care, but even still, there's a little bit of confusion, right? So if we let's start with defining self care. From my perspective, I see self care is an act of nourishment. This is how we nurture ourselves, head, heart, and body. So it's any activity that's going to top us up. And there's a good reason for that confusion because what one person finds nourishing maybe won't float the next person's boat. Or even, what I need this morning might be entirely different to what I need this afternoon. So that's why that it's I think it's a little bit confusing, but just having that simple definition of self-care is healthcare. It's how we nurture ourselves. But then what's self-advocacy? Self-advocacy is how we represent ourselves. It's how we speak up for ourselves. It's how we act on our own behalf. So this is where we get brave and we say to other people, this is how I feel and this is what I need. And please, can you? Yeah. So self
Yeah.
advocacy is the necessary skill to allow us to receive the love and support that every human being needs.
Yeah. And where do we begin with that? Because obviously, like you said, we might be able to define what we need to do to fill our cup, and like you say, that could change from the morning to the afternoon or day to day. But for example, for somebody that could be taking an hour out to go and sit and read a book, for example.
Mhm.
For someone else it's taking an hour out to go to the gym, or that kind of thing. But actually being able to communicate that with other people around you, even the people that you love so dearly, where do we begin with getting brave enough to do that? And actually, not only that, this is me asking the question, but also sometimes we know we need support and help, but we're not really sure what it is we're asking for. So where do we begin with that?
It's really big, isn't it? It's really big. And I want to acknowledge before we look at the nuts and bolts of how we actually go about speaking up on our behalf, I want to acknowledge that historically, if we have been belittled, or if we've been, what's the word, criticized for speaking openly about our needs and our feelings. Our caregivers aren't always, they don't always have the capacity to meet our human needs and the capacity to know how to help us navigate our feelings. And I think I'm the daughter of a psychiatrist, but I can tell you what, like on one hand, how many conversations we had about emotional health. And he was fantastic at his work. It's just that we've learned so much in the last decade about
Mm.
emotional health. I think we're only, as parents now, we are only really learning how to navigate our own feelings, right? And we're doing that concurrently while we're trying to teach our kids. So I think we need to understand that we might not feel safe doing these things. We need to learn how to feel safe first, because also if you look at, it's not just our own rearing, it's also the conditioning that we've been subject to. Now, a lot of this is totally invisible. We're not even aware of it. But if you look at the language around, what's a good baby?
Mm.
A good
Yeah.
baby is one that doesn't cry. It doesn't trouble its parents, right? Long gone are the days like we don't think of a good child as one that, a good child is one, what's the phrase? You don't, you see them, but you don't hear them.
You don't hear them. Yeah,
Yeah.
something like
Okay.
that. Yeah.
Something like, okay. So I don't think we subscribe to that anymore. However, a good child is still one that doesn't talk back to adults.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like all of this, we are steeped in this messaging that somehow you got to keep quiet, shut up. Good things come to those who wait. Uh-uh. Great things come to those who ask. And yet that's what we're embedded in. So for anyone thinking, oh God, is it okay? Well, actually is okay. But what we need are a series of practices that will help us feel safe to be able to determine who is it? Who is it that we can reach out to? Because I can guarantee there'll be a lot of people listening to this going, but do you know what? I have got brave. I have been vulnerable. I have spoken up and I wasn't met with what I needed. And that's really painful. But let's get skilled in thinking about, okay, who in my circle might have the skills to be able to meet that need? And can we get direct and can we reach out to that person?
Yeah. And
It's
I think,
hard.
I mean, I don't know.
Hard.
Yeah, it's hard. I think one thing I've learned, especially since having children as well, but is that not like I can't, but also my partner can't be everything to me, and I
Yes.
can't be everything to everybody. And
Yes.
that's the whole point of having friendship circle,
Yep.
and having other people in your life, because it's also unfair, I think, a little bit to, like you say, when you've been vulnerable and then you have this expectation from one person to be able to understand. And I think, for me personally, this obviously got more complicated after my first husband passed away, because I have since remarried and I have another son, and a lot of people ask me a lot of the time, well, how does he deal with you? How does Barry deal with you in those times where things are more challenging, maybe anniversaries or things come up? And actually, he's amazing. He might not be the first person that I go and kind of air everything to, because I'm sensitive to his feelings too, but
Yep.
he is just there. And he often will say to me, I'm just here if you need me, but I'm also here if you don't need me. Like, you can talk to me,
Yep.
you cannot. And he's really, really good. And obviously there's a time and a place for those conversations. And
Yep.
I know that's when, like, my mum or my
Yep.
best friend are the people that I lean on, because they can give me what I need in that situation. And it would be unfair for me to be expectant of that necessarily from him, although he's open to it too. He's incredible. But I think that's also important to understand, like you say, that circle of people around you, and understanding,
Yep.
who can bring that to you. Yeah, I think it's really, really interesting. And like you say, we're always learning, aren't we? We are always
Yeah.
learning through life experience and everything else.
We are. I think that's a really valuable addition. And I love that dispensation that you've said, do you know what? I don't need to be all things to all people. Like, can we give ourselves permission to fail at what's humanly impossible? We
Yeah.
can't meet all the needs of all the people all the time. We can't keep everyone happy. But equally, can we also let other people off the hook? You know,
Yeah. Yeah.
let's acknowledge what their strengths are. And I think
Yeah.
that's one of the exercises that I recommend in my books. Flesh out who is your team of angels. You know, who
Yeah.
are the people that you can call on? And I include my hairdresser in that, my osteopath, the people that I go for a walk with, people that I
Yeah.
might go and see a film with, you know, people I went to school with, but I haven't necessarily spoken to for a while. But I know that if I got back in touch, you know, we'd pick up like it was yesterday. But it's just understanding that people have different strengths. And it's all
Yeah.
right to you know, if you have someone who's brilliant at brainstorming and being the devil's advocate, which to be honest, my husband is super creative, really good at saying, oh, thinking really creatively. And if I need comfort, that's not the first person to go to because he's going to come up with a whole bunch of ideas of what I don't need that in that moment. So it's
Yeah.
coming back
Yeah.
to that question. I think that was a really good question of how on earth do we know what we need? I've got a really simple practice that will get us asking that question on a more regular basis. And really, this comes down to knowing ourselves. And to be able to know our feelings and our needs, we've got to check in with this thing, right? And then how much of our day are we like spent cut off in our
Yeah.
heads? We're like a head on legs. So my invitation is, and I really hope this practice piques people's curiosity. Every time you drink a glass of water, I want you to turn it into a little practice, a little ritual of checking in, where you place your hand on your heart, you pick up your glass, you take a few sips, and notice how differently it feels. Like if you have a glass of water, I haven't got one with me, but if you have one, try it, Charlotte. When you drink with your hand on your heart, it changes how it feels. It's much more of a sensory experience, the cooling property of it in your mouth. You feel it as you swallow it. But couple that with two questions. The first question is, where am I at? What's happening for me right now? Just check in, just notice without judgment, without criticism, without assessing whether it's okay or not. Just where am I at? And then the next question to ask is, what do I need? Okay. And when we start asking ourselves these questions on a regular basis, that's when we're going to notice, do you know what? I needed to go to the loo about half an hour ago. I should go and do that thing instead of answering that next email. Or I'm just noticing I've been sat at my computer for an hour. I need to see some green. I need to look out the window. I haven't spoken to another human being. I need to connect. I need to sit with the cat in my lap for a minute. I need a hug. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I love that. That's really cool. Yeah. I think I'm gonna try that, definitely.
Yeah. It's just
I am definitely the
it's
head
such a
on
useful
legs walking
practice.
around.
We all are. We all are. And for people that say, I can't remember this stuff, well, this is how we do it. We pair it with something we're already doing and we turn that everyday action into something that's just a little bit more tender, where there's a little bit more curiosity, a little bit more inward looking. It's okay for us to turn our attention inwards. That's all right.
Yeah. And do you think, just out of this is just out of interest, really, in your experience recently, especially within the last couple of years, I feel like the ability to actually take the time to do those things um, has since COVID. I feel like there was that slowdown period, and I know it was incredibly stressful for a lot of people as well. But that was that period where we were forced to slow down,
Yeah,
and then it came back slowly, gradually, gradually. And I feel like everything is even faster than it was previously. I think there's less time, and perhaps sometimes more pressure. Is that something you've noticed, like with your
definitely,
clients as well? Mm.
definitely. I think what we're noticing is there's a feeling of less time. There is more pressure, and I think there's also a greater sense of urgency. Like
Yeah,
it's got to be done now. And I think there are so many things that are actually contributing to that sense of urgency. So if you take a snapshot of 40 years ago, we used to get mail delivered once a day, weekdays.
yeah,
There was a
yeah,
landline. There were 3 or 4 different TV channels. They went to sleep at night, right? Imagine the silence that that world facilitated. And
Yeah.
with that landline, people didn't phone during dinner time. Oh, you wouldn't do that, would you? Like, and no one called after 9 p.m. unless it was some kind of emergency. So that's 40 years ago. Fast forward to today, just the rate at which technology has evolved, this cannot keep up with the rate of evolution of information, communication, the response times. You used to send a letter. Now you get an email and you sort of feel this sense of urgency of, that's been sitting in my inbox for more than half an hour. We give ourselves such grief for not
Yeah.
these instant turnarounds. And if you look too at the kind of information, the kind of content that we're consuming, and this concerns me, all of the pauses are edited out. So it's like bang, 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 bang. And we're sort of so used to being on this. It's like we're living life on fast forward.
Yeah.
And it's
Yeah. It
not
definitely feels like that
healthy.
sometimes.
No,
No.
my Instagram posts, when I deliver a video, I deliberately slow things down because I want people to slow down with me, because that pace, it's not sustainable. And our
No.
nervous system is letting us
Yeah.
know, right?
Yeah. That leads in a little bit as well too. I mean, slowing down, I think that's something we're forced to do when you first become a mum as well. That's one thing that people struggle with. You are forced to slow down in some ways.
Yeah.
Um, just generally everything takes longer, doesn't it? We talk about it all the time, leaving the house, all the bags you've got to pack, all the things you've got to take. And it does force you to slow down. And kind of leads me a little bit into the next question. We talk a lot about mum guilt. Again, another kind of buzz, but it is something that's popped up in the group quite a lot as well. And specifically for our group, that's people who are doing pole fitness as a hobby, and they maybe used to go 4 or 5 times a week to their studio, or perhaps they are teaching as well. And a lot of this obviously happens in the evening. So it's either during bedtime or just after, running out the house to get to the class, and this feeling of guilt. Do you have kind of some advice for this feeling and this thing that we talk about, for those mums who are struggling with that?
I do. I do. And I'm really glad you asked, because there are so many mums that are paralyzed by that guilt. Why isn't there dad guilt?
No, it definitely isn't. It's very different, isn't it?
Mm-hmm. And I'll in one answer, it's because of the selfless mother archetype. We've had it rammed down our throats that to be a good mother, you've got to totally subjugate your needs. You must become this thing that doesn't have needs, doesn't have feelings. Sorry, I don't know how many humans can live up to that standard, and certainly for an extended period of time, without imploding, because human needs aren't just a nice to have, right?
Yeah, they're a
So
necessity,
we need
right?
to hold, exactly, we've got to hold this up to the light and go, geez, this is what I'm evaluating myself. This is the gold standard that I'm trying to live up to. It's not humanly possible. Okay.
Yeah.
But what lies beneath that guilt? Instead of getting stuck in that, it's like a quagmire, isn't it? Which stops us from taking any action that nourishes us. Look underneath it. And what lies beneath it is just a huge reservoir of love for your children. You just want so much for them. But if there's anything that I've learned, if I try and get by on fumes, yeah, if I'm running myself ragged, I don't have access to any of those qualities that I hold dear, that I want to model for my kids. And if I don't want my children to be set up for a life of self-sacrifice, energetic bankruptcy, resentment, burnout, overwhelm, I've got to show them how to to respect self, to nourish
Yeah.
self. Yeah. And I've learned this is it. I've had my own experience of energetic bankruptcy where I had both of my parents were in different hospitals. Dad Dad was in intensive care. My mum ended up in intensive care because
Oh,
dad couldn't speak for himself. Um, my mum went to the hospital every day, 7 days a week, for the entirety of visiting hours. So she was there for 10 hours a day. And she had an injury that she didn't attend to because she's like, oh, I've got to get to the hospital. She ended up getting cellulitis and wound up in
oh,
bloody
no.
intensive care herself. That's when I had a 4 month old. I'm like, two parents in it, this is just bonkers. Like, if you can't nourish yourself, please do it for those who rely on you, because if you fall over, what's going to happen, right?
Yeah,
Without our health, what do we have? So the mantra that I've come to realize is my depletion serves no one and my replenishment serves everyone.
yeah,
Right?
yeah.
So just let guilt go for the ride with you, because you're not actually doing anything wrong.
No.
Right?
And is there some kind of narrative as well? Like, I don't know if you do this kind of thing, but some kind of mantra isn't the word, but something that people could almost tell themselves, because a lot of the time it's here. Obviously, like you said, what's lying underneath it is that love, and you want to do everything for your children, and you want to be there, be present. But we also love doing those things too, whether that's, going to our pole class or going out with a friend or
Yep.
whatever that might be, or a date night with your husband, as if that ever happens. But so those kind of things. So what story can we begin telling? Not story, but what words can we begin telling
I love it.
ourselves, perhaps talking to
Absolutely.
ourselves?
Yes, I love this. I think this is really important. It's the fact that you matter too. I matter too. And actually, what you're doing with these actions is that you are resourcing yourself. You're
Yeah.
resourcing yourself so that you can show up as you aspire to.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I
It's
love
in
that.
everyone's
Yeah.
best interest. Please, if you can't do it for you, and I hope
Yeah.
that people would be able to do it for them in time to come, do it for those who rely on you, because they
Yeah.
get the best of you when you've had a little opportunity to do some of those things that help you feel like you're alive.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
love that. That's really good. So moving on then, so a self-care, self-advocacy, is there some kind of routine where they can start? Obviously, you said about having a drink of water, and taking a bit of time each day to think about how are you feeling and what do you need. Is it, maybe journaling, or would there be something else, some advice that you could give of where to start if they really watch this and they're thinking, okay, I'm really going to do this. I'm going to start now and start to build that strength. Maybe, it's not going to be perfect to start with, but I'm going to begin really taking that time. Is there some advice there for people?
I'd love to give some practical tips, but what I'd like to do is just give a few options, because as we've already acknowledged, that there isn't a one size fits all approach.
Yeah.
So I think the simplest things that we can do are, so you don't need any extra equipment. You We don't want the barrier of cost. So these things are all free. Um, and they need to be readily available. So I want people to have things that they can actually do in the moment. Okay. So the things that I would recommend would be some kind of breathing practice, something that you could do. Just, do you know what? Not necessarily in those moments of high charge, but actually before you get there, just if you
Yeah.
notice that your energy is flagging, you just think, do you know what? I just need a little pick me up. So the practice that I would love for people to play with and maybe even share with their children is the chicken wing shoulder roll. Okay. So we need to make a little chicken wing here. Put
Okay,
your
I'm doing it
fingertips
with
on your
you.
shoulders. Okay. Now you could do this at any point in your day. You're going to take a deep breath in, lift your elbows up. And as you exhale, take them back and down. That's it. And do another few of those. Breathing in, elbows up, and breathing out, tip the elbows back and down. Okay. So with this action, now you're not just flapping your arms about. What you're doing is you're saying, do you know what? I'm going to give myself a little breather, and I'm going to let my day just drop from my shoulders. Yeah. Okay. And then let that go.
Oh yeah, that feels good.
We just need a little bit of freedom. Now, we know that movement has a potent antidepressant effect, but it doesn't
Yeah.
always have to be an hour in the gym. It could be just that little bit of movement, a little bit of a circuit breaker. So this
Yeah.
is this is movement, but it's also a breathing practice. And when we breathe better, we feel better. Okay. So that's the first practice. The second practice would be some tangible way to release tension, because tension just accumulates, doesn't it? You know, by the end of the day, we're here, aren't we? So, and Charlotte, would you agree? Would it be fair to say that the neck, the shoulders, is that an area that you hold tension?
Oh, 100%.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. So let's do a little experiment. Okay. Without doing anything, let's relax our shoulders. Okay. So we can let go of some, but actually, what we notice here is it's very hard to release in stillness, really hard to relax without doing something to get you there. Okay. So this is our baseline. Just notice how your shoulders feel now. And let's check in after this next little ritual. We'll see how this
Okay.
intervention works for us. Okay. This is called the shrug and sigh. So we're going to make a fist with both hands. Okay. Now get your biceps involved as well. Okay. Now let's get your traps involved. Squeeze your shoulders up to your ears. And then if you game, you could get all the muscles of your face involved as well. Squeeze, take a deep breath in. And as you exhale with a sigh, let it all go. And just notice.
Yeah.
Our neck is longer, the shoulders have flopped and dropped. So, okay, yeah, I'm back in the building now. Right. Now I've got something to play with. Okay. We might need to do it 3 times for maximal effect, but it's these little circuit breakers. Yeah.
I actually use this technique quite a lot in my flexibility classes.
Do you?
So
I
we
love
do the
it. Yes.
fists and the face, and then
Yes.
when you relax it, it helps the rest of your body relax. So it's really good and
Intelligent fitness.
stretch.
Well done. I
Yeah.
love it. But there's one more. So we've done breathing, yeah, with the chicken wing and the movement. And we've done tension relief with the shrug and sigh. The next one is when we just need a little bit of comfort. Okay. What we're tapping into here is the therapeutic benefit of touch. Now we all know that, you know, oxytocin is the hormone that increases feelings of bonding. Yeah. When you extend touch to somebody else, it releases oxytocin, but also when we receive touch, touch that we also extend to ourselves, it releases oxytocin. So the practice I would love, if anyone only does, if they just do one of these practices, please let it be this. It's the face hug, right? Let's create some warmth with our hands. And then let's tenderly cradle chin in hands and meet the face hug. So with this gesture, you are extending tenderness towards yourself. All that love and care that you effortlessly, generously extend to those around you, you're allowing some of that to be turned inwards, because it's okay for your kindness to also include yourself. And this gesture reminds us that we can be our own calm, safe place too. And then blink the eyes open and release. And doesn't that little bit of comfort resource
Yeah.
us?
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's lovely.
Yeah.
They were amazing tips, and it's so nice to have something practical to take away that people can go and use. And I also love that you mentioned that, you know, you could do this with your children too. I can actually
Yes.
see myself doing this with the boys later and telling them, you know, I learned this today, let's do it together. And I think it can be really helpful for them too. So I think that's really
Definitely.
nice. Um, so, is there any recommendations of some resources that I mean, obviously you've written 10 books, so please do talk about your books. But either kind of books or courses or things that like maybe even support groups or maybe even social media pages, I don't know, that people could go if they're, like I say, I know a lot of people are going to watch this and feel like, right, this is the sign that I needed to make some changes for myself moving forward. So yes, do you have any recommendations for that?
I do. I do. So I'd love to take people through a little walk with some of my books. Um, a really useful place to start would be Rest to Reset, which
Great.
has 25 different toolkits for ways that we can add replenishment to our day in ways that don't necessarily take a lot of time and energy. For anyone that's in the midst of more of a squeeze of life, Self-Care for Tough Times is the book that I'd recommend. This is essentially a roadmap for stress, loss, and change with toolkits that will empower people to navigate those challenging life experiences. You mentioned journaling earlier, and Breathe is my journal. So that is full of
Nice.
different journaling prompts. For anyone that has kids and they want to share them, this little book is for kids.
Oh,
And I've read it for my son. So he's 10. It's written for 8 to 12-year-olds, but you can read it with younger kids. But to be honest with you, these practices, the whole family can do them. So
yeah.
yeah, that's plenty of books to think about. For anyone that doesn't want to read a book, because sometimes we haven't got time for that, I get it. I created a little deck of cards. So
Oh, nice.
box of self-care has 50 different self-care practices. Now, I love that you said earlier the narrative, the story, because what we tell ourselves is so important. You could do a gorgeous, nourishing practice, and if you're berating yourself while you're doing it, you're not going to get anything out of it. So, on one side of the card is a mantra to anchor yourself. So, this is I can soothe myself. Allow the world to wait for a minute while you soothe your nervous system. And then on the other side of the card is a little practice. Earth your brow. It's this one.
Oh,
That's another. And what I love about this, I didn't think about this when I created the cards, but people are leaving them around the house to remind them. Like if there's one that they could do in the middle of their workday, they'll leave that card next to their computer.
yeah.
They'll leave this card next to their bed, to the on their bedside table, to remind them of that practice. So it's a way of just helping people.
Yeah, I really like that as well. And I think, like you said, we're all a bit guilty of it, but the stories that we're telling ourselves, or, especially as mums, a lot of, I mean, I know that I'm quite hard on myself with, oh, I can't make it to that school event or something because I've got something on for work, and oh, that, I'm not feeling good enough, or not, feeling like I should be able to prioritize that over work, or the other way around, or whatever. So I think it is nice sometimes just to have those prompts to remind you and to
Yeah,
just reset your brain, because a lot of the time it is just the things in here that you're saying. It's not the reality.
that's right.
Um, and then that comes back to having the people in your lives that go, no, you're doing fine, you're doing a good job, or so it's nice that you can use that there as well. So just to finish up then, Susie, it's been so lovely talking to you, and you've given so much valuable advice. But what last bit of advice would you give to someone looking to improve their self-advocacy?
I just think first and foremost, we need to be gentle with ourselves. We need to be gentle with ourselves, and there are skills that we can learn, but it comes from getting our nervous system in a state where it feels like we're safe to be able to speak up. And if anyone has a tough time doing that, I totally understand. Sometimes we do need to work with someone to help us build that skill set. And I'm absolutely here to help people develop those concrete communication skills, boosting confidence, but really it comes from being tender with ourselves. Be gentle with yourself, because we need self-insight to be able to speak up for our needs. And until we can allow ourselves just to be a normal, fallible human being, it's so hard to connect with those needs. So it all self-compassion honestly is the secret sauce.
Thank you so much, Susie. Thank you. It really has been a pleasure and an honour to have you on today. So really, really appreciate it. And I know this is going to add so much value to the members of our group as well. So thank you so much. And I am going immediately to buy some books.
Oh,
Especially the this book will make you happy. My son turns 8 in October, so I think that'd be a really nice
oh,
addition
he
to our
loves it.
our bedtime routine. So thank you so much.
It's a pleasure. Now, Charlotte, if anyone's got any questions, people are
Yes.
very welcome to drop me a line on Instagram. I'm
Oh,
really
perfect.
happy because, sometimes it's, I wish I'd had that opportunity. Don't hesitate. Drop me a line, and we're sharing the journey together. And Charlotte, thank you for such a beautiful invitation to contribute to your community. I really appreciate it.
Thank you so much. Thank you. And I will speak to you very soon.
Thank you, Charlotte.
Thanks,
Take care.
Susie. Bye
Bye.
bye.